I remember once this guy came to me. He said, I have 6 months left and I need to entrust you to do a few things for me.
What is the most challenging request you've gotten from a resident?
Wow, challenging request.
It's a question that I've been asking for very long. So.
And it's a very difficult policy question.
On this very special episode of Get It Out, we also have a very, very important guest with us here today. We have Singaporean politician and former police officer and Mayor of the North East District in Singapore. Also Member of Parliament for Tampines GRC representing Tampines Changkat. He is also Assistant Secretary General of NTUC. Impressively, at the age of 47, do 500 crunches on his birthday. We have Mr. Desmond Choo.
Wow! But why you want to do 500 crunches on your birthday? You enjoy the pain.
I do enjoy it, but there's always a little milestone I try to do. Every birthday.
Milestone. Actually,
milestone,
maybe
milestone.
For me, I think above 100, I consider that a milestone already.
I think I 10, I saw it already.
But you went to 500.
No, that wasn't my record. My record was during COVID time. So I did 1,000.
Oh my God.
way.
In one sitting?
You got nothing to do.
In one sitting? 1,000?
Still to do 500.
Oh,
So then you take a break for 20, 30 minutes.
Must be rock hard. Rock
I
hard.
wash clothes or not? But I think more importantly is because we never had such an esteemed guest like you on this show before. I think it's our first time.
kidding.
Yeah, really. But how do we address you?
Let's call me Desmond.
Never heard before. Okay.
But don't sit right with me.
I scared to call.
People have been calling me that for 47 years. I still respond.
Okay. Then we call him Desmond. Okay.
So thank you, Desmond, for joining the show.
Yes.
To start off, we actually have a few questions for you. So the first question is, we should know this but what is a mayor?
Maybe to keep things quite simple, it's not like the typical mayor you get from Mayor of London. They look after all the municipal issues. Our work goes into developing programs, support schemes to help people in the district that we run. And specifically for me, it's the North East District.
If I'm not wrong, there's only 5 mayors in the whole Singapore.
Five. Used to be 9, now 5.
5. So there are a lot of weight on your shoulders.
We have a good team of people. We have a good team of people, but it's a job that allows you space to tackle issues that sometimes a bit more difficult to do so. For example, one of the big thing, or maybe more our passion project for Shaping Hearts, which is really to help the special needs artists. You know, being artists of any kind in life is just difficult.
Actually, we were there at the event.
Yeah, but we wave at you, but
I think you're too busy.
You sure? No, but you buy any painting or not?
I think Ryan bought.
I was supposed to buy a painting for my house, but the ones that I won was all sold already.
Don't worry, this year we have again.
Okay.
But it is kind of work that if you try to do it in one constituency or one GRC, it's just difficult. But you try to do it nationally, it's too big. So we started in Northeast. Now we have 24, 26 organizations, 30 plus artists. Every year we exhibit about 500 to 600 paintings. We try to occupy spaces whereby people might fall through the cracks and develop programs to do something for them.
So the next question is, why do you decide to serve and enter politics?
I guess public service has always been in my blood. That's how I became a policeman, right? So I took a scholarship. Back then, we don't know what to do. In my time, people offer you something, a chance to study, you don't need to take a loan, then that's the best thing really, right? So I became a policeman. But because of that, it made me the person who I am. I'm going to love the public service. So the opportunity came and said, okay, do you want to step up and do something in the political arena? So I'm like, okay, you think I can, is it? Okay, if you think I can, maybe I give you a shot. So it wasn't easy. Every day you need to learn how to do it. There's no instruction manual how to do it. But I love public service. It's not easy work all the time. It can be very trying. But the good thing is that you always go back home knowing that hopefully you'll make somebody else's life a bit better.
So as an MP for Tampines GRC, right, you definitely do meet the people session. So I want to ask, what is the most challenging request you've gotten from a resident?
Wow, challenging request. There are many. I won't call it weird. I can understand the desperation. I have people coming to me, obviously with BTO issues, right? Now people try to get BTOs, long waiting time. Then some people have already gotten their queue numbers. And then they come to me and then they say, can you help to change the number?
You can do that, man?
Of course not.
That's why I was like, I didn't know you can do that.
Who am I going to, which number am I going to call and say, can you give up your number? It cannot happen. So you have difficult things in that, but you also get sometimes quite touching things that you have to do. I remember once this guy came came to me. He doesn't look so well, and I knew him from some time ago because I was serving in the place already, right? So he came and then said, I need help. Of course, everybody comes and needs help, no problem, we take a look. He said, but I really need help. I said, why? He said, I have 6 months left and I need to entrust you to do a few things for me. So he has issues that he need to deal with his family, leaving of money behind, how to get lawyers, including planning for the future for his family, and we had to work through those issues. He eventually passed away, outlived the 6 months, but still passed away after 9 months. So these are some of the trickier things. But it's also something that you feel that maybe you've done something right because the guy can entrust you with certain things in the final stage of his life. So that would be maybe something to remember for a very long time to come.
Okay, so that's all for the Q&A. We'll move on to the audience submission.
A bit heavy, the Q&A
Yeah,
was
a bit heavy.
Okay.
Now the question we will start off with more light-hearted.
Correct. Okay, so the first submission from the viewer is by Jessica. She's 31 years old. I have no concern, but I just want to say I can't find love. Any advice for me?
Find love.
You can't find love. Then maybe to her, you give her my NPS address. Come and see me, I write a appeal letter. A lot is destiny and fate, right? I really quite believe in these kind of things, right? So I think maybe to her, have that space and time. I think it's okay, don't rush into it. I think it's more important that you find someone that can be your soul partner. It's never going to be perfect, you know. Some people say, no, you have to fit like maybe 10 on my criteria. But sometimes when you're together with somebody, you discover things that you never thought were possible. And then you discover that I really like this, but I never thought that I treasure this so much. Sometimes it takes a bit of courage, a bit fearless to love and be a bit vulnerable. But I don't think you should also go in thinking that if I fall in love, everything will be perfect. No, it's not. It's going to be a journey and you enjoy it. Right, one way or the other.
So how long have you been with your wife?
Wow. I met her when I was in Ministry of Manpower. I was also on the police force. They seconded me there for 2 years in 2007. Till now?
That's almost, quick math is 13 years.
No lah, what are your math?
My math's not very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the later part of 27 years we met. Met in office.
18 years. About that.
So what's one advice you would give for a long, happy marriage?
Wow.
Happy wife, happy life.
Actually,
You won't go wrong.
I think both must be happy, ma. Can't be one side happy, right?
I think you
But
must
he was a
have
bit scared when he
Oh, don't they do that? That's so wrong.
okay.
Yeah. But I guess that the mutual respect is important. That both parties will bring different things to the relationship. And we both have our own responsibilities. And the sense of trust must be there. Right.
Trust very important.
And one rule that we have is we never take our problems to the next day. Yeah. So you must settle it today. Right.
Okay.
Don't let it carry over. Don't let it linger. Right. And that's not healthy. So thus far that has helped.
Okay, moving on to the next submission. So memberships are so expensive and that's my excuse for not losing weight. Plus, I just love to eat. How do I diet?
Okay, for me, I always have a particular image of how I want to be when I get older in life. I certainly don't want to be all hunched over, having a pawn chest. That's not the image that I wanted to have. And there's a lifestyle I want to lead. Meaning that I want to be energetic in my 50s, going to my 60s, right? So I said, okay, if I want to do this when I'm 50s and 60s, then what do I need to do today? Right? What kind of routine and system I need to put in place today so that I can be what I want to do in 20 years' time?
Will you say that losing weight, diet is more important than exercise?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you run for an hour, means what? 500-600 calories. You eat half a plate of chicken rice, they save you 300 calories really.
So do you have a gym membership?
Oh no, I don't. I went to the army, free membership training. So they taught me how to do it. But I genuinely don't because partly my schedule doesn't fit. I think I'll waste money at the gym.
Correct.
I can see the value of people going for gym membership because some people work better in a structured environment. If they see other people working out, gets motivation. And some people just like going for classes. I think there'll be a space for that. But I think there's also a space for people who
Self-discipline.
Yeah, you can do it on your own. Right. I do have a fixed routine of what I do every day. So it's all planned. The rule I have is no one is so busy that you don't have time to do 10 crunches. 10 crunches is 10-15 seconds. You must be able to find 15 seconds a day. It has to be, right? But then what is 10 push-ups? Maybe again 10-15 seconds. So you add together 30 seconds.
Okay.
So you have to have 30 seconds in a day.
For individuals, a bit different. Maybe for him, it's like 10 push-ups is like 5 seconds. But for us, it's maybe like after one. Okay, I need a break.
Until sometimes I will do like those 30-second exercise. I do a couple of squats. Then I will ask myself, is there even a point to do this? But yeah, it is better than nothing.
Better than nothing.
Maybe you burn 2 calories. Don't know.
Okay, so this one is a little bit trickier, okay? I really think that this new generation is too strawberry, easily bruised, unable to withstand hardship, and a bit berita tahan. Basically entitled. For example, look at the way that many youngsters handle jobs today. Nowadays, it's common to see fresh grad quitting within months just cause the workload is too stressful or the boss is too demanding. Why like that? I think the younger generation need to have more tenacity. If not, actually next time GG already.
What does GG mean?
GG means good game. Sometimes when we play game, right, when it's over, we say GG. Good game. Yeah.
Sorry, every generation will have its own issue. I'm born in the 1970s, right? I'm quite sure my bosses, the peers before me, born in the 1960s to 80s, 1970s, people cannot make it.
Okay.
I do agree with that.
Why so weak? What's happening? Man? Same thing in the 1950s to say, we've been through the post-war, you cannot make it too. So I think that we need to leave that aside and see the strength for what each generation and what it's made up to be. What typifies this generation is that sense of purpose is a lot more important. It is key. Once they understand the purpose, once they understand the reason why, then it's all out. They will go. And they're very keen to make the best use of their time. That if I can pick up as many skills, I can learn as much as I can in the shortest period of time, then I'm super motivated to do it. Some people might see that and say, hey, why do you just resign after 6 months? Maybe the guy find that, hey, this is not the place for me. I don't want to waste my time. I want to make sure I get on the path as quickly as I can. So I wouldn't try to conflict the two things. It is about trying to understand that generation and bringing out the best in them. I think this is what the older generation has to do. You look at them and say, okay, what can I do to help you succeed at the next level? So that you can carry on this journey.
On that point, right, I do agree that every generation will think that they are the best generation and they will look to the next generation as a bit of a softy, a bit strawberry. But I think more on the point where it's like, how do we motivate older generations? Because we are enjoying the fruits of their labor. And then for them to see like, hey, the older generation worked so hard just for just to be like this. I think that's the part where they have a lot of disagreement.
I mean, there is a quite a well-known saying, right? 创业难，守业更难. Meaning that you start something is really difficult, but you try to keep something going, it's even more difficult. So we have built this thing, but to keep it going, it is going to be quite a big challenge and to do even better. How are we going to work together to make that happen? I think we cannot underestimate that. That the load on the on the younger generation to have to carry what has been built, those are tremendous pressure. And how can they take that forward? The world is a lot more complex than what it used to. Right? Not to say that it was easy, but certainly not like today. Access to information is insane now. Let's say, for example, in my generation, right? You only need to read one newspaper and you get everything. Now you have to, I don't know how many...
Cross-reference, cross-check.
Right? So it's not an easy terrain to navigate.
Yeah.
I would say the main difference I felt myself as an 80s child, okay, is when I was in my working life, I was treated very harshly. Okay, harshly as in they have no time to be sensitive around my feelings. But now as a boss myself, I tend to tiptoe around when I want to say something. And I always try not to scold anyone because I very scared they get hurt. But back at my time, it's like I didn't have that grace.
No, last time people also could cry. Just cry inside toilet.
Now probably at the table they will cry.
But there's something to that. Is when people are open and expressive about their feelings, then they carry the same feelings and passion into a project. And that takes you to boundaries that you probably wouldn't be able to get.
And means they care lah.
If you don't care, then the guy wouldn't even cry now. They just walk off the job.
Wow, that's true.
Right.
So I think I would rather take somebody who's like that and say that no, I got no feelings on you. Because I know you can do this, but you can never go way over and beyond unless you invest 100% of you, and that requires you to put in your emotions and passion inside.
Wow, that's a very good perspective. Okay, now next time I see my staff cry, I will praise them.
Thank yourself.
But in fact, actually on this panel we have Gen Z 2001.
Correct.
This person is actually talking about your generation.
Your IC starts with T1.
The T1.
Don't you think like when people say your generation is strawberry, like how do you feel?
I've never been told that I'm a strawberry lah. But I wanted to ask you, what is one strong suit that you can see in this generation?
I think for them, strangely, it is the ability to take risk and to go into jobs, occupations, ventures that my generation of people wouldn't even think about.
I would say that the previous generation has laid the foundation for the new generation to take risks. For sure.
You do need that because as a society becomes more evolved and things become more complicated, more complex, you do need people with that love for risk.
So that leads me to the next question. Okay, it's by Mesh, 25-year-old. Right now, the job market for fresh grads are horrible. It's very difficult for fresh grads, especially in tech, to find a job as the market is too saturated. Also, there are many foreigners competing for jobs with local fresh grads as well, and they are more often cheaper and thus make things difficult for fresh grads. What do you have to say to fresh grads facing this unprecedented level of difficulty in job search? Also, if AI gets so smart that it replaces all the entry-level jobs, what are fresh grads gonna do?
Wow, that is a very difficult policy question. This podcast is about two and a half hours. I think the way the market now, and it's always been that way, is that the best jobs and the most attractive jobs are always going to be competitive. That's the reason why they're attractive in the first place. Yes. So in this generation, you have to be the tech sector. Technology will be the mainstay, and for many, many years to come. In my generation, it was engineering, right? Everybody tried to become engineer, you know? Yes. Science and stuff is a big thing for them. But in this generation now, tech is the name of the game. It is going to be competitive. I think that's something that this generation is quite well placed to do. I've seen people who get themselves involved in internship, building up their portfolios, even while they're in school. I think those are going to help the people who are interested in tech to get into those tech positions. But I also encourage people who are interested in that space, don't see tech as only happening in tech companies. There are many places that in the traditional industry, for example, I see on the board of SBST, you need a whole army of technologies. You need good people who can code, you need people who can run systems, and these are tech skills. So I say that if they're passionate about it, there are opportunities in non-traditional sectors, non-tech, but still equally and vitally important. Then of course, there's always this issue about how about the competition for these jobs, you know? Can we lessen those competition? I think it is going to be quite difficult when we're quite honest about this because it's going to be a very borderless world. The coding can be done obviously in many different places, but now coding can be done by AI, for example. So with that, the only sure thing you can have are probably two. One, you need to be deep skilled. That means you have to know your field well, and you need to know people.
On network.
Yeah. In a space where the information, while readily available, is also a lot of the time less believable. Because there's so much out there, and so personal references and stuff becomes a lot more important. And therefore, I think these two things are going to help people to get the career that they want.
Then what do you think about AI invading this space right now?
I don't think it's invading this space is really with us. It is going to be a much bigger part of how we experience the world, how we consume, how we work. I think anyone coming into the workforce, in the workforce now, if they don't incorporate some form of AI, or have an understanding of AI, then it's going to make working life very difficult.
I think I can understand how this person feels because I not too long ago graduated. And I think it's because of what's happening around the world internationally. There's so much uncertainty. 10 years ago, we can see like maybe 5 years in the future, like our foresight is much clearer. What we are looking for is more of an assurance that because when I was in uni, many of my peers were taking internships. They were learning things beyond their scope, but yet they still struggle to find jobs out there because the competition is so high internationally. I think what you can maybe share with the audience is like, how can you assure them that, hey, actually, we are here to help you and like, don't worry because what you're doing is correct. It's just that maybe you need to maybe try a different method or something like that. You know?
I think the world will always be complicated and it will always be in a flux. Probably a lot more now, but we're in a good space. You look around us, our little red dot is stable, is progressing. Some people ask, hey, we're very excited when we go overseas because the Sing dollar is quite strong. And we are strong because the economy is doing well and investors have faith. So why do they keep investing in us and we still get record numbers of foreign direct investment? Because they have faith that this country has good policies and you will implement and execute those policies. Where is a safe haven to park your investment? Singapore. And that's always going to put us in a good state. And then to our people say, how does this affect us? This affects us as long as you can attract investment, you will still have jobs. And that's key. And the second thing is that Singapore is a good launch pad because in Singapore you get to have interaction with many foreign companies or Singapore companies overseas setups. So from this base, you can experience other parts of the region or internationally. So it opens up your world. And I think that our younger people need to have confidence that they are one of the best trained, if not the best trained cohort of people you can find anywhere. They will have the best opportunities that many countries will not be able to provide them with. Of course, the competition will increase because we are an attractive place. People will want to come and compete with us. But if the numbers still speak for itself, our unemployment rate at this record low. Would it take a while for them to get the job they desire? It might be. Right? Because the economy does go through up and down. But in the longer run, they should have every faith that as long as we can navigate our country well, they will have the best opportunities.
So it's by Cookie, who is 20 years old. How should a youth manage the rising cost of living? Daily necessities, buying a home, renovation, starting a family, holidays, retirement, amidst a tough job market where salary seems to be insufficient. It's a question that I've been asking for very long. So I think your generation has been asking, and until now, they're still asking the same
He got asked me
question.
before. He also got asked me.
I think every generation is still trying to find the right answer.
So what was your answer?
I said, I see what you can do, raise your salary, which I did. But I don't know if it helps or not.
You didn't ask him whether is it enough.
Enough or not?
No, I
never
think
enough for him.
It's never enough. I
Never
feel like as we proceed further into the future, it will always be it's never enough. It's never enough. There's always a hole. Nothing can fill that hole. Yeah, and I think it's more important how we manage our finances and how we navigate through this.
But I did try to talk to them about the importance of investment, putting your money and where it should be and all that. But I don't know if they are ready to have this conversation because their take is, I know money, you want to invest. You have to, but it's very hard to make them understand.
Personally, I think there are two things that we probably need to look at. I think one is you got to know what you want in life and what is important to you. There'll be a time and space for different things. For example, I didn't have my first flat until I was late 20s, and it wasn't my flat. I took over from my dad because to help him to pay off the thing. So I was having a 4-room flat until I was my late 20s. Was it important for me to get a new one? I would love to, but I had those responsibilities that I need to fulfill first. Sometimes you do want to be a bit more patient, but things will come. You just need to let things settle there. For example, some people say, I want to have this property, but right now what I earn is not enough. I said, but why should we take a look in 2 steps? Something that is more affordable, wait for the appreciation before you, and then your pay will catch up, 2, and then you get the place that you want. So instead of a 1 step, you take a couple of steps. Not all of us can do a 1-step thing. For most of us, we will need to do 2-3 steps. But it is viable. Second one would be on financial literacy. I think that is so key. Financial literacy, not like everyone needs to be like a banker. You need to know how to make your money to work, even though you may have very little to start with. So for example, whenever I meet, not only just younger people, seniors too, right? I do talk to them. I said, okay, where do you put your money? He said, I put in my savings account. But savings account gives you 0.1% now.
Yeah.
Right? So, but I said, I only got $1,000, then where can I put? I said, go and put in T-bills. T-bills gives you 2.5% now. So in 1 year, give you $25, but this one gives you $1. So which one is better for you? You compare the two. They say, but if it's so little, then what's the point? But don't forget, they accumulate over time. And if you're a younger person and it accumulates over time,
Start early.
it is going to help.
Yeah.
It is going to help.
The compound will help.
Yeah, the compounding effect. I hope that more younger people take that first step, because once you see that, it can snowball.
Would you say that because in this fast-paced world right now, everybody is looking for instant gratification? That's why they're so worried that okay, I need to buy this house at this price and I have to have this big amount of money to finance my house. And then how can we ensure young people that financially in the long run that this is possible? Or are there any methods other than maybe investing or ways that the government are doing or any schemes or anything?
Sometimes it's when you are in the position now, it's very hard to envisage what might happen or what you can do in 10 years' time. So say for example, when I first started work, my pay as an inspector was 1,008 or 1,009. But today, our fresh grad, when they come out and join the police force, they're making close to 5. So it's a very big jump, right? If you ask me, at that age, can I envisage the pay at the rank to be that kind of wages? I said, no, I cannot be one. It's not possible.
That's true. That's true.
But so the world will astound you in ways you cannot imagine.
Yeah.
As long as we keep our skills there, as long as we continue to invest our money wisely, they can get there. I remember back then, I stay in this place called Xingming. My parents waited 7 years, 8 years before you get the place. Nobody wanted it because it was only 8 blocks and it was beside the Ziduan, you know. It's a columbarium. And there's Guangmingshan beside it. Then people say, well, beside temple, must be very crowded. Then you burn the bodies there. Then, wow, the value show very bad, mama. But that's the reason that my parents can get the flat, lor. Nobody wants, lor. So we stayed there. They said, but only 8 blocks, eh? No amenities, you know. Huh? You still want to go, ah? No choice, right? Just go, right? Today, everybody says that, wow, very good, but very quaint, only 8 blocks. It's so nice. It's so convenient, yeah? Can do different things, right?
The perspective shift.
And the value has gone up.
Yeah.
So I think have faith in that as the country grows and successful, many places will similarly grow. And that rising tide will lift all boats.
And I think that this age and time, right, with so much information floating around, right, learning about financial things, right, like your investment, or maybe say how you maximize your dollars, using what credit card, what a bank account, all that, right, all the information is out there. If you are not optimizing it, right, then it's really on you. I see it's really on you. You really, the information is all out there. So I actually focus a lot on this when I talk to my staff, and I always tell them that, hey, you know what, if you all need help to talk about all this, right, can come and talk to me, because I really believing in, even when you spend, you can maximize it, earn miles, earn points, cashback, all that, right? And then every time I see they use like, or they just use cash and everything, I was like, oh, those are some lost miles there. I feel like you just put a bit of time and go research out there. There's a lot of resources out there.
I think also don't overcomplicate things. Right? Some people think, financial investment is very complicated. Actually, you don't have to. So it's a no-brainer if you have any of these accounts to put money in treasury bills. It's 2.5%, used to be 3%, and then you just buy one every 6 months. So I mean that's what I do also, right? So once the thing is due, then put back again.
Very simple,
So whether the market goes up and down, it doesn't matter to me. I just keep doing the same thing. I mean, I was financially trained, but you don't need to have
overcomplicated.
Don't need to overcomplicate. Just do the simplest thing.
Which brings me to the next question.
Okay.
Why are the educational system still so focused on academics and books when most of the things we learn, we most likely will never use again? I think, like what you said, financial literacy is very important, but why is it that
not taught in school?
We are not taught that in school. We are taught physics, we are taught Pythagoras theorem, chemistry.
Actually, if you think about it, if we take a very practical and utilitarian approach to education, then everyone should be studying about P&L. Everyone should read financial statements. You shouldn't be writing essays, you should be doing PowerPoint decks. So no point doing that. Why need to write, right?
I agree.
No point. The only time you need to write is sign only much. Then we're missing out on a lot of the things that goes into the training of the mind, right? There's 2 parts to education I thought was particularly important. One is you learn together. You learn a lot from your friends, from your classmates, from your schoolmates that otherwise you wouldn't. I think that kind of environment is important. So therefore, just by having people to do individual learning, not coming to a campus, I think misses out on a big part of education, which is building our social skills, soft skills that are key. Then the second one is, the mind is a wonderful thing, right? That it needs to be stimulated by different things that goes on. And you never know when some of this comes of use later. For example, the literature class that you used to hate, which I used to hate too. Maybe it has influenced the way you do your creative work today. I used to really detest why my teachers have to force me to do this literature class. But quite useful when you want to write a poem to your wife, you see. Sometimes these skills come about and you do not know why, and who knows? The history lesson that used to be very painful. And then you meet a foreign investor, and then you somehow got topic that click already, then got things you can do with. The training of the mind is important, but even as it is, things evolve. Then we need to change our curriculum to fit the needs of this real world. Quite frankly, we cannot project what is needed in 10, 20 years. What we can do is, what kind of training can provide you so that you have the intellectual curiosity, that learning agility, so that when the new thing, you can solve it. And that is what the education is supposed to do. Yes, I also hate physics. I can never get those experiments done correctly in the way they want it. Chemistry was even worse, okay?
Last time I used to agree that why am I learning all this physics, this Pythagoras theorem, what quadratic equation. I never used it after I graduated. But actually, I soon realized that actually Singapore do need this kind of people, because after secondary school is where you realize, do I go into engineering? Do I go into the creative? Or do I go into business? And then because Singapore is such a small country, but we cast such a large shadow internationally, I think this is very important. That is why Singapore is so focused on academics and education, making it a place where internationally people want to come here and study in our schools and universities. So maybe you are only 16 years old. I mean, taking O-levels this year, probably soon. Then after O-levels, that's where you really have more freedom to explore what you really, really like. I think that's the part where maybe people are more confused.
So I say that sometimes we all like to look into education system as, this is where all the issues are start from. But this is where all the good things have also started. And to make changes to the education system is very tough. It's not so easy. And the tricky thing is you don't know the consequences until many years down the road. Right? You tweak in primary 1, the result doesn't happen in PSLE, the results happen when a person starts to work. You tend to be more careful and you will try to take a more measured approach.
Sidetrack, I'm just very curious. When you were in secondary school, what's your CCA?
Oh, I got quite a few CCAs. I played English chess and Chinese chess. There's one, student council. As well, and then debating.
You do all three at one time? Chinese chess, English chess. This one.
I would imagine he chose something more sporty, given he's somebody who did 500 questions.
I am sporty, but I'm not particularly good with sports. So I need to go and find time to play with my friends, right? I said, okay, which is the CCA that gives me all my CCA points, but still got time to go and play football. That's very important. So I said, hey, play chess. So I asked the person, so what do I need to do to get the full points? He said, very simple. You just come, you play chess 1 hour, right? And if you can win, then you can go. So like that only. Okay lah. I mean, I just go and study the thing. Then you represent the school. No need to win, right? The one just represent me, right? Yes. Then okay, can. Then I aspire to that. Once I reach there, I don't disturb me anymore. So I go 1 hour, I play football after that. But I never made it to the football team.
I know why. Also got aircon, that's why.
I don't think at that time.
Last time my school.
No aircon. That means we are very privileged.
Correct.
Okay, moving on. Next question by I Love SG, 23 years old. Singapore is too boring. Nothing to do. I keep hearing this from my friends, especially when they talk about wanting to migrate or study overseas. They say Singapore's got no interesting people, no fun places to go, just the same old routine. What are your thoughts?
We will always have our physical constraint. I mean, it is just as big as it is, right? You're not going to have a Grand Canyon here that you're going to have experience. You can't change the weather. But are there pockets of things? I think that's where the people makes the difference. Now we're transforming our landscape, for example. We have nature places whereby many that have not been to before. I think there is still spaces that a lot of us have not explored, but I think feel free to go overseas. I think it's important too, because we must acknowledge that Singapore is a small place and we need our people to have that broader understanding, appreciation of the larger world. So travel, experience life, but just remember that home is still here. Right? That boring place sometimes is also the most charming place.
I do agree that sometimes Singapore is a little bit boring. Like there's really nothing to do. But one thing that I like about Singapore is super safe. I love it. That's the one thing that I feel like most of us take for granted. Really, really.
I have to admit that some time back, I was really looking into migration and I did a lot of research, right? And because in our channel we do a lot of travel around the world, so I will say I'm well traveled enough to see a lot of the world. But when you travel down there to visit as a tourist and you living there is entirely different thing. That's what I found out. And then after my conclusion of the entire research, I researched for a good 6 months. I realized Singapore's still best. Because of safety, transparency, or whatever thing, I think Singapore really still best.
I also think that this viewer maybe has the grass is always green on other side syndrome. If you stay in Singapore, you're going to see other places as, so much better. But if other people will see our country as like, Singapore is a great place to live.
But what's your take, man? You are the young generation.
I feel like this generation a bit lazy to go out during the day. So at night, not much things to do.
We got club, we got bar.
Adventurous.
Just to be more adventurous. And cannot say like, I don't want to go out in the day because it's very hot. Yeah, you cannot complain lah. There's a lot of things to do in the day, it's just that you're never going to see.
Right.
Singapore is for all year round
you cannot
summer.
Complain lah. You cannot complain. Just go out in the day. go for a walk and MacRitchie.
On that topic, what do you do for fun? Let's say on off, like you really don't know what to do. What do you do for fun in Singapore? Don't tell me 500 crunches. You do that for fun.
600.
That's a question I've been asking myself. My team asked me too. So what do you do for fun? I don't have a lot of time for the fun stuff, but I do play with my two girls. As much time as I can, that is where I will put time with them. And sometimes we just do quite silly things. We played Jenga blocks, right? Then we said, okay, let's evolve the thing. Then we build structures and then try to destroy each other's structures.
Wow.
Try to blow it down. Those are a couple of hours of fun. But work is quite consuming, so a lot of time is spent at work. Then whatever that I have is with the family.
Do you have any hobbies like collecting anything? Or?
But you want to ask him if he collect Pokemon card?
Yeah, that was. I'm going to lead up to that.
I don't think
question.
anyone.
I used to collect stamps.
Yeah,
But your generation wouldn't know stamps, right?
Yeah, ours is Pokemon card.
Yeah, I have what?
You all know what stamps are?
Right.
Yeah,
Use
the
stamps
postal
anymore.
stamps.
You know
They
what?
used to know.
The letter stamps are the $1.
Yeah. Have. Also, you have a booklet of stamps.
I don't know where is that now, but that was quite some time ago. I used to collect some of these, but
Pokemon card.
yeah.
Okay, so we've come to the last question, the last submission. So as a 29-year-old single male, I'm deeply concerned about the rising housing prices and also the age for applying for singles BTO. At 35, I only can start applying, but there's no guarantee I'll get one. Even if I do, the waiting time is around 5 years, meaning I'll be close to 40 before I can move in. Buying a home has become increasingly expensive, making it difficult for young people to settle down early. Even with subsidies, the overall cost remains a huge financial burden. With housing already so costly, starting a family feels even more daunting. If prices continue to rise, subsidy will only feel like a small relief rather than a real solution.
I think maybe you can, of course, one of the singles and then the ones the young couples. Maybe we take the young couples on first. So we always have a certain affordability way or index to look at how to keep our flats affordable to people. But are there areas whereby then it gets a bit high? Or maybe too high for certain people. So you have to evolve the schemes. A lot of them say, I want to stay in this area, not because I want to be mature and stay, but my parents are nearby. What do you want me to do? Then we have to introduce Plus and Prime scheme, introduce more subsidy. You have a clawback at the end of 10 years MOP so that you make it affordable for younger couples. We will introduce more of these new BTOs, continue to build. Our question, our issue is not so much about whether we can build enough or whether we have enough people to fill up those flats. There's a lot of transformation. We're transforming the entire southern waterfront. We're going to open that up. We're going to move Paya Lebar Airport. So you intensify the land use and there'll be a lot more opportunities for us to build in new flats for people. But do we have enough Singaporeans moving into those? I think that gets us to the second part, which is the singles. Right? More people are becoming singles now. A lot of them are by choice. A lot of them, maybe like the first question, haven't found true love yet. And what to do? The number of singles are increasing and they will be a bigger and bigger part of the population. I think that is where also our policy must evolve. The foundation of our policies for housing especially was for family units. And how we look at family units was a husband and a wife, right? Maybe with children, taking care of their parents. It's how you configure the housing policy. But in time to come, how do we cater for singles? Because they are also Singaporeans. And you need to also make sure that they can benefit from the nation's growth. They can also have a place to stay. Maybe not in the way we think about community now. Maybe singles come together, 4 or 5 flats, and they build communities from there. Not necessarily what we think of today, but something different. So I think that piece of policy eventually will need to evolve. Can we build more? Can we relook at the way how these things are built? The space allocation, the location. How does it co-mingle with some of the other flats given to families? So I think there's a lot of possibilities in those. But I do agree, housing policy for singles will need to evolve.
I think how you see is, let's say 20 years ago, there's a set of policies for us. Let's say the next 10 years, that policy actually is wrong. That's where what Mr. Desmond said, that we have to adjust accordingly. Does that mean that at that point of time, 10 years ago, that policy he said was wrong? No, because times change. So the policies must adjust. Don't really look back and say, hey, that policy you said 10 years ago is wrong. I think don't see it like in that way, but see it in a way where the environment has changed. The
requirement
the requirement is different already. Therefore, the policy must change rather than blaming the person that set the policy.
That's what policies are meant to be. It's a living policy. And it's a living policy because people come, people participate and evolve that. And I think that is why I encourage younger people that you must have your say. You must leave your imprint on those policies and work on it together. This is your country. How far you take it, how will my CPF money do, will depend on people like your generation, right? How you grow the country. So the policies must make sense for the younger people and also for the generation to come. That's what helps us to grow over time. We don't do things just for this generation or the generation before. For example, the plans that we make for the Long Island, for example, I wouldn't get to see it. For sure. But it doesn't mean that we stop working and changing policies and raising the money so that this generation benefits, or the 2 generations later. Maybe the 3 of you will still get to see it.
Unlikely, not for me.
No chance.
I think I also.
The 2 of you, I think maybe you definitely
I can.
Still got chance.
But in many places, what they will do is that the 3 of us have no reason to work hard at this one. Because I won't see it, I won't enjoy it. Then why should I work for you? But for a country to do well, a society to do well, it must have that bigness of heart, the foresight that, okay.
To do something that you might not necessarily get to enjoy or see.
Exactly.
I'm going to say something that will sound very cliche, but we are all Singaporeans. We all have a part to play. I mean, and if, let's say, we don't do it for our future generation, nobody's going to do it. And then the next generation is just going to suffer. It's just going to kick the can down the road. I think everybody will have to play their part. Play their part. 听到没？
听到了。
You must take care of us.
Yeah, I think that's all we have for today. Thank you so much, Mr. Desmond,
thank you.
For your time.
But before we end it, we need to have a takeaway. Because I got a takeaway.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I got something that I learned. I learned that 政府的工不好做. No matter what they do, somebody is just going to pick on them. So I'll say like my advice if any audience or any Singaporeans watching this, right, is don't be so hard on them. Because honestly, you put me in their spot, I really also don't know what to do. How to make everybody happy?
Very hard.
Yeah.
I think what I learned today is that they are human.
Yeah.
I mean, they may be smarter than us, but they are also trying.
Not necessarily.
But they are also trying, and we should also do our best to support whoever is trying. I think that's very, very important.
I think one takeaway that I have is that there's a lot of perspectives to different things. So
Do you feel grown up now?
yes.
Yeah, you feel grown
Thank you
up.
so much.
Will you stop complaining about it?
Okay, I complain inside lah. I don't complain anymore.
Would you like to thank Mr. Desmond for his time?
No, thank you for having me. Thank
I
you
hope you
very
had
much.
fun at this online
did.
Meet the People session.
It is less intimidating than I thought.
Hope you also had a special takeaway.
Wow, but the good thing is that I feel younger. You guys. The big thing for me is it's a good reminder that the hopes and aspirations with each generation is different. And the only way you know is open your hearts and your minds and listen to them. And not only help people, but also help myself to do our work better. The other takeaway I have, if I can be afforded another one, is that we don't have the monopoly of good ideas. And that's for sure. And for us to do well together, we need everybody. The young, the old, all must be part of this.
Very well said. I think that was the most educated closing that we ever had.
We always quite.
Usually we are very candy one, but this one full on serious. So as always, I hope you all enjoyed the show, and as always, remember to follow all of our socials. You got Instagram?
I have.
Follow him on his socials as well. And remember to click here for more, click here to what, and cut to the bloopers. Assistant Deputy Secretary General of NTUC, and impressively.
Don't promote me. Assistant Secretary General.
Assistant Secretary General. What did I say?
You see,
Deputy.